Yeah, the idea of natural talent's an interesting conversation as well. I used to look at natural talent as being how well a person could run off little training. And if they could run fast, having not trained that much, I go, okay, well, natural talent's high. And that's one element of it, obviously. But the other element of it that I learnt through what you touched on then was I guess it's a natural talent that can also be developed to just be consistent and to keep rocking up, because it's incredible how many athletes, like you say, didn't quite reach their potential because they would come out sporadically and, train here and there like heroes and then never follow up, where you would see other athletes who might not have the same level of natural talent, but they had the ability just to keep grinding and grinding. And as you say, the penny eventually clicks. That's always inspiring, and something that I think is well, in my own mind, was looked over too easily, especially when I was a young fella.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think everyone has an ability, but it's then using your talent to make sure that that ability shines. And again, it's just everyone's different. There's no one way that fits everyone's sort of scenario. But what I love about team culture is that once you've got one person that buys in, the attitude of everyone else buys in. And everyone doesn't have to be exactly the same in order to get the same results. They've just got to excel in their own ability and use the talent that they have to be able to get the end result. And, in my group, we've got a great culture. I don't accept anything less than them giving their best. Like, mediocrity is not an option for me. I mean, again, I had an athlete that on Friday did a workout and he got his ass kicked by an athlete that should not have come close to him. And so today at the workout, I said to him beforehand, I hope I'm going to see a better result. And he's just like, oh, yeah, coach, I don't know what was wrong with me. And I was like, well, you should have kicked his butt, but you didn't. And I said, so if you train to the level of your ability, you're going to push him to be better. And he goes, oh, you're going to tell me you didn't have a bad day? And I said, yeah, but my worst day was the best day for some athletes, right?
Mm.
A day that I'm off and I'm struggling, those athletes all of a sudden got a smell and they were able to get onto me, but it still pushed me to be competitive to make sure that those athletes still finished behind me. It wasn't like I was having a bad day and then I just let some athlete that was slower than me all of a sudden dominate me in training, right? So it's that attitude of always knowing that you are good and that you belong. And then when things get hard, you can still hang in there and grind. And he's young; he'll learn. But I certainly wasn't going to listen to his sob story on him getting his butt handed to him in a workout. That even though he was going bad, he should have still been able to finish ahead of that guy. But his head dropped and his head wasn't in it. And to me, training really mimics racing. And if you can't flick the switch in training, then how are you going to do it in a race? And Steve Moneghetti was the king of that. He would come to training and he'd be moaning and he'd be like, oh, I think I've got him. And then you get halfway through the workout and he would just go bang and blow you apart, because all of a sudden you're listening to what he's saying and then you're thinking, okay, he's having a bad one, so I should be able to easily whoop him. And he would just hang on. He would weather the punches for the first half of the workout. And you kept saying he's going to drop because he's already told me he's not feeling well. And he never would. And then he would throw in a surge and you'd be like, hang on a second, you told me that you're not feeling great. And it took me a while to learn that art, that when I got to races, I could do exactly the same thing. And it really takes a lot of work to be able to do that, because when you get tired, the first thing you do is you start coming up with excuses. And it takes a fairly strong minded athlete to all of a sudden go, no, I'm going to hang in here and I'm going to surge it. I'm going to dominate. And I think the more that you can throw in that positive reinforcement, the better athlete it makes you and the better racer it makes you. So, there's so many tricks to the trade to try and get right. And, as I said, there are just some athletes that get it and they are able to make that their mantra. And there are some athletes that train like champions, but then they race like, draft horses when it comes to getting out there, and they just can't translate what is needed. They either train too hard, they don't have the right mental psyche when it comes to racing, especially guys that dominate training but then race poorly. Sometimes, it's the old saying, they train like Tarzan and race like Jane.